Hello and welcome to Art with Mr P. This week we're involved in collage. So far collage has been mostly about cutting and sticking, but collage is so much more. It's about producing instant colour, it's about producing textures, it's about using items that we find and we organise and arrange in a composition on the page. And by composition I mean the way that we organise bits on the page so they work better, so they look better. So collage can be very much about handcrafting skills, tufting and fringing and rolling and bending and curling and that kind of thing. I'm going to ask you to use a range of materials to collage a seashore scene. That was a tongue twister, wasn't it? Seashore scene. This is what I mean. Let's do it. So what we're looking for here are shell shapes on the sea floor or shore. And I've been looking through my art cupboard in my office and I found this coloured paper, whatever colour that is, and I found some yellow as well. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this yellow and then I'm going to rip out some sand dune shadow shape, something like that. Looks a bit like a banana at the moment, doesn't it? I think these can glue on here, like something like that. Now, if you haven't got these colours, doesn't matter, because you could paint this bit. Or just use other colours, because whatever you do is right. Yeah. Remember, what I show you here is just a starting point. It is not the only answer. Okay, so I'm going to stick these bits down. This is my background. So this is meant to be something like maybe the ocean floor, or maybe the beach down at Cast Thorn or somewhere nice. Maybe Sandy Hills. Southwest Scotland, full of beautiful beaches. But don't tell anyone, or else everyone will want to be here. Now you'll notice that I'm not sticking these down so they're absolutely flat on the paper. And that's one of the joys of collage, is that collage starts to become a bit 3D. Now I'm going to put the background to the side for now. I've got a piece of blank paper which will help show what I'm up to a bit better. And I'm thinking about the sorts of shapes I want. Now I'm going to start off with, I think I'm going to start off with a bit of seaweed. So I found this from a previous painting lesson, and that'll do just nicely. On the back, I'm going to draw some seaweed, or a kind of seaweed type shape, yeah? And it's going to go something like this. Now, what kind of seaweed is that, I hear you asking? Well, Mr P seaweed. Right. So, very, very carefully cut this out. So you'll notice I've drawn it on the back. And that means that when I turn it over and stick it down, I can't see the line that I've drawn. And it will look much more convincing. And the line won't distract us from what we're really interested in, yeah? Now, what are we really interested in now? Collage is so much to do with shape and texture. You'll notice, by the way, when I'm doing this, that the scissors don't move. It's the piece of paper that moves. The scissors just open and close. Yeah, makes cutting much easier. So I put some glue on here. Not tons, because I don't really want this to be flat. And there's an example piece of seaweed. I think we can make that more interesting though, can't we? And maybe we could put some different colour. Now, red looks like a very complementary option. So put that there. Like that. Making it much more interesting. I think the devil is in the detail, as they say. Okay, so there's a little bit of seaweed on my sea floor. Right, now another kind of shell. How about a kind of a sea snail shell? What kind of shape will that be, and what materials do I use? Well, I could use this cardboard, I guess. Right, so I'm going to draw this on, and my shell is going to go something like this. I've drawn the whole thing on there just to give me an idea to kind of get my head around it. Yeah. Cut this out. Of course, when I turn it over, I won't be able to see the spiral. So what I'm going to do is stick a spiral onto this. This is just the kind of background of my shell. So if you remember, it goes something like that. Yeah, so I need that shape. And I think because it's going to be a shadow, I'm going to use a cool colour. So I think this blue would work out very well. So I'm going to cut a spiral out of this. And the trick is to get it the right size. Now you might want to draw this first, yeah? Okay, so I think we need a curve at the bottom, and then we take this up. This is up. Something like that. There's a kind of spiral, and we can stick that on there. Why are we using different kinds of materials? Well, this makes for interesting art, doesn't it? Because look at the difference. Not only have we got difference in colour, but we've got difference in texture too. Now we could make this even more interesting, make the shell more interesting by adding some more colour. And I'm tempted to cut out some triangle shapes. Like that. Now I've picked triangle on purpose because I know that the triangle shape will emphasize the spiral here. Will help the spiral be stronger here. Of course, the other thing that we're doing here, this is not a real sea snail, is it? It's not a real shell. What we're doing is inventing one, yeah? And I think that's called being creative, yeah? Okay, so there is a shell. Now I'm only going to do one, I'm hoping that you will do several. Okay, so getting my background back into camera again. I can stick my shell down somewhere. We'll just put it down here. One shell. That is. Now remember, you don't need to use a glue stick. You might have PVA at home, who knows? Right, we need a different thing now. Let's have a scallop type shell. So what do they look like? Well, I've got to find a piece of paper to use. I think we'll go for this brighter orange. And I'm going to draw my scallop shell on here, which looks something like a fan. So it's a different kind of seashell. So I cut it out roughly to start off with because a smaller piece of paper is easier to handle. Tricky bit coming out. Okay, there's my scallop shell, and I need some lines on here. So I'm going to find another colour. I want to use a colour, well, this will do, I suppose. And I'm going to cut a few long strips. Like that. And I'm going to glue these on. Something like this. I think the shell's going to have a few little barnacles on it. So I need a different colour. And I think this green is absolutely perfect. I'm going to cut circles out of that. I want to draw the circles first. Oh. Remember, it doesn't need to stick down flat. It's one of the joys of collage. Okay, I'm going to bring my background back again. I'm going to stick my collage shell down. Any way up. Okay, and then I'm going to, now this is a tricky shell we're going to do next. This is the last one, but it's the tricky one because it's this shape. So I'm drawing kind of S marks. Yeah? Cut that out. I'm thinking, while I'm doing this, I'm thinking that maybe in your kitchen you've got an old net. You know, like onions come in sometimes bags, net bags made out of nylon net. Yeah, well, unfortunately, we have a lot of nylon in the sea. So you could actually stick, there's no reason why you couldn't stick a piece of nylon bag on it, or do a bit of printing. So you could get a little bit of paint, put the nylon bag into the paint, and then print onto here using the nylon bag. Yeah, there is another kind of shell shape. You could do a crab, you could do fish. The world is your oyster. Got to stop saying that. Right. Okay, so another piece of collage for you. So I guess this is essentially Mr. P's challenge for this week. Here's a starting point that I've given you. What can you do? What can you do that's better? Now remember, what I demonstrate to you is just a starting point. You can take this so much further. I've shown you a few ideas about shells and shapes and textures and suggested a composition of some description. You can be much more creative and you can take this much further. You can add to what you've already done, or you could do something completely new. The world is your oyster. Next week, we're going to revisit drawing again. Drawing always popular. Anyway, I'll see you then.